Monopoly by Grit.
Welcome to Monopoly by Grit. Today I have the pleasure of having Mr. Mark Mintoff from Ray White in Melbourne.
Thank you, sir.
Those who don't know Mark, in the local region out there, everyone knows Mark, but in the
Hope so.
Mark's very popular. In the wider community, Mark is one of the leading agents in the region there, who's been operating in that area for a long time, in that growth corridor of Melbourne.
Definitely.
Rightly so. Mark, thank you for joining us.
No, pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. It's been a while since you and I caught up, but
Definitely
really appreciate you taking the time on a rainy Melbourne day.
It is, yes. I thought it was meant to be sunny today, but Melbourne for you.
Melbourne. Thanks for joining us, mate. So our viewers here are very keen to know the insights and what's trending, what's good, what's bad, what they should and shouldn't be doing.
Yep.
So let's just have a bit of a chat and let them know.
Yeah, of course.
What's going on.
Beautiful.
Current property market. Let's talk about the market, what sellers can do in this market.
Yeah, look, I think, the market overall, when we talk about the market, I think depending on who you listen to, talk to, and, insights and all that sort of stuff, everyone's got their own opinion. I think no one's got a crystal ball is the way I like to look at the market, is what the market is. I think the good thing about the Melbourne market at the moment is, there's still plenty of buyers out and about. Different areas are going to be doing different things. The good things, I think, for sellers to be doing in any market, and I did it myself. And to be honest, I was knowing I was coming here today, I was actually thinking about it last night again. When I sold my home a few years back, I kind of, working in the industry, just started doing things without even thinking about it. It was just second nature for me, obviously being in the industry. But, it was things that I'd wanted to do for my own home, but never got around to do them. So we were in the house for 10 years. And, even when we bought it, we talked about, painting and, maybe, putting some fresh grass down and those sorts of things. And it was funny because we got to, we started planning to sell and, got the painter in and, did the gardens. And I remember going, geez, these are things we thought we wanted to do 10 years ago. But we never got around to it. And it was just, amazing the difference in the home. It felt, more open, just painting, some brown walls white, so just walking into the home, it just felt open, fresh. Things like that. And I think always, looking at those things, I think as owners, you live in the home, you know things that you'd like to do over time, but maybe haven't got around to them. I think those things are always things to look at because buyers are looking at those things when they're looking at home. They want to walk in, they want to picture themselves in a home. So I think it's those sorts of things. And always talking to, your local agents as to sort of, what are buyers looking for in the market? What are people sort of picking on at open homes or, what are people bringing up with you and finding out those things? Because sometimes I find people, can go over and above as well and can sort of over-capitalize when they're looking to sell. You might not need to do certain things.
What are buyers looking like? If I ask you in the region that you're operating, what are they looking for?
So look, different. I think in our area, very diverse. You've got sort of your older sort of central Melton, which I think a lot of areas have those pockets as one, and the growth corridor in the Melton area with new suburbs there, new properties being built as well. So I think, look, with a lot of the older properties, we're finding, people want sort of that potential, for your subdivision redevelopment because you still got your bigger blocks, above your 550, 600. And then you've also got your people that are looking for your newer homes with low maintenance. They've got the kids, sports on the weekends, all those sorts of stuff where they don't want to, have too big a backyard where they're mowing the lawns and having to do the weeding and all that sort of stuff. But still have the space to grow as a family, where it be that second or third living room, those sorts of things. So we've got a varied market in our area. As I said, your investors looking for development, can they put in a unit down the track? And then also families who just want, nice big size house that they can move into and not have to do anything. And that's what we're sort of seeing in our market. Yeah.
Any infrastructure updates out there?
So we've got a hospital coming up, which has been the talk of the town for years now. Right next to Cobblebank Station, which opened up a few years ago, which we've spoken about. many times. So they've got the public and the private hospital hopefully starting by the end of this year, early next year, which would be huge for the Melton area. I think they've been crying out for it for 40, 50 years. I remember we had an auction towards the end of I think it was last year or mid last year. And we had an older lady, about 80 years old, in the ground from a few doors down. And we actually brought it up. She goes, I've been waiting for it. She goes, I bought my house. They were telling us to do that. So hopefully I see it before I go. And we had a bit of, everyone had a bit of a laugh. But, hopefully, end of this year, started next year, start building. Hopefully by 2030, that'll be ready to go. And look, there's a lot happening. Schools. One of the primary schools there in review is one of the biggest growing Catholic primary schools in the country. I was talking to the principal sort of earlier this year, and he was saying the growth they've had in intake is just crazy. So they're actually looking at doing other campuses or other schools in the area as well. There's a lot happening there. We had a Palia shopping centre open up. Woodgrove at the moment. So Woodgrove, they've put that up for sale at the moment. So potentially looking to get someone in to maybe develop that into something a bit bigger as well. So
like a Westfield.
Look, I don't know if there will be Westfield or not. Depending on who buys it, will remain to be seen. But I'm assuming that, similar to what they did in the Werribee Tarneit area with Pacific Werribee when that was bought out and they extended. They're still doing, some works there now. So there's definitely a lot happening, in the area.
So we are, I think it's right to say, Mark, you're the expert, but the expert in the local region there. Yes. But it is a buyer's market out there, if I say it correctly.
Look, I think over the last a couple of years through COVID, we definitely saw a peak where it was a seller's market, and people jumping up and down, ready to buy. I think it did balance out over after that peak. It hasn't really, I think, dropped as much as people have thought in there, but definitely look, it's a good time to buy. I think there's still, value in the area. I think when you compare it to the greater Melbourne market, there's still, value to be found in homes there. Like we're meeting people from, inner suburbs or, different parts of Melbourne, but also interstate where they're going, homes over here are still fairly cheap, affordable, compared to sort of other pockets. Yeah. It is, yeah.
Because we found the median prices of Perth and Brisbane and Sydney are now above Melbourne, which is very crazy. So in a market like this, what do you think the buyers should look out for and how they should capitalize on it?
Look, I think you've got to look at, and I always say, look, everyone, is going to run their portfolio slightly different. There's people that are looking, for, something that they can develop in the future. So whether it be something on a bit of a main road or a big block where they could look at putting, a unit or a townhouse in the back or knock something down and, do 3, 4, 5, 6 units. There's still, blocks in our area that are, 12, 1,500 blocks, which you could do that in the future. Obviously, at the moment, I think the development has slowed down a bit in those sorts of, projects that people were doing prior to COVID due to the cost of building. I think I was reading an article the other day where, cost of building sort of since COVID's gone up about 30%, which sort of put a little bit of a halt on those. But I think, if you can capitalise on getting these sorts of land now, in the future, it's definitely going to be a good chance for that sort of growth and a good prospect. And definitely we are starting to find, like you said, the Sydney markets, Queensland markets, Perth markets have just gone crazy. And we've noticed that over the last few months where we're definitely getting a lot more buyers from those states selling up there and buying in our area. And even the last, couple of months, talking to the team and from what I've seen, we're seeing a lot of even, buyers agents that we hadn't heard from for a while coming back. And, I've got 2, 3 clients looking for XYZ. What have we got coming up? What's on the market? What have we got off market? And really starting to show excitement in these areas again.
So we're in springtime.
Yes.
Which
you wouldn't tell by the weather, but yes.
Which is a good time for sellers.
Yes.
Springtime. So
yes.
Not just cosmetic changes. What changes should sellers do to get the max out of this at the moment?
I think to get the one, other than cosmetic things to do to your home, I think, marketing it to the broader market, you need to. I'd liken it to, not that I've used Tinder, but sort of Tinder, where people are literally looking from all over the world at properties these days. We even, yes, sort of local agency in Railwipe, a big brand. We're getting buyers from, overseas, interstate. So there's been a couple of properties that we've sold. You buy from China, from Dubai. Interstate buyers. So you want to get it out to as many people as possible, and through social media marketing and realestate.com and domain.com, those are, you do need to make sure that you're capitalizing on the products that they provide to be able to go out to the, those markets. To really get as many people looking in your home as possible. As obviously, the more competition, the more eyes on a home, the more competition means for an owner. Generally a better price.
Yeah. If we spell it out very simply to somehow, we constantly get this question mark. So how do I enhance the look, the value, the appearance, presentation of your property? So if a property, for instance, has all floorboards,
yes,
they'll be dark and stuff. So
look, I always think, depending on, like I said, it's always good to look at what's the home got to as a home. So if it is dark floorboards, depending on what sort of floorboards they are, like in our area, the older homes have those natural timber floorboards still, where sometimes. I was actually at a client I was talking to the other day. All I said was, look, he goes, look, I was thinking of floorboarding over the top. I said, look, it's probably cheaper to get them sanded back and repolished. It's proper hardwood, from back in the day. And it's, when it's sanded and repolished, it's beautiful. Most people, to be honest, are going light. I actually had one a few years back I sold where they went, stained it a dark color. And it went with the home. It was a big open home. There's plenty of natural light, so they could afford to go that dark color. Yeah. And it just created a point of difference where people went, wow, this is different as they walked in. So I think you've got to take into account, I guess, the home you've got. If it's a smaller home, you might need to go that lighter color to bring in natural light. Little tricks I find, even light globes. No one thinks about these, but if you've got, older dim lit light globe, go change them something a bit brighter, and it can just brighten up and make the room feel a bit bigger as well. Paint. Gardens definitely. I think, when you're walking into a home, walking up the driveway, fresh bark, some nice lawn, even some little pops of colour with a little couple pots of plant. Bunnings, $2-3 for a little plant these days. Just adds a bit of pop of colour. Give it a good bit of a clean. From the cobwebs, that sort of thing. If it is especially in our area, there's bug spider. We're in Australia. You're going to get cobwebs, so just a bit of a clean, tidy. So just that first impression. One thing I remember from my Macca's days, I had it near the clock-on machine, was you don't get that second chance to make a first impression. Yeah. So, how are you creating that first impression to your buyers, who are, first of all, looking on their phone at the photo, so professional photography, the marketing, but then also when they come through, are they seeing these sorts of things? One thing we're finding works a lot is staging as well. So I'm not sure, some people go, look, it's a big expense, but what we're finding in our area is, and I think in every area, an empty home can feel a bit cold, especially if it is a cold, rainy day. You can walk in and sort of feel a bit of a chill, whereas you kind of want people to walk in and feel warm. Imagine that, kids sort of running around the table, or running into the backyard on the grass, and kind of go, these would be a great area for the barbecue with the family, and start to imagine themselves living there. And that's what you want to create, whether it be for an investor, for a home buyer. It's sometimes it is that emotional purchase as well. When you walk into the home, you go home, you've seen 10 homes for the day. I remember that one, little Johnny was running around, and it starts that conversation again, which is what you want to do.
So in terms of, you've discussed some of the cosmetic changes, some of the presentations for sort of, I'd say, mid-range sort of properties. What about luxurious properties, like where instances where the house looks absolutely fabulous inside, and it's huge and it's big, and
definitely
big backyard.
Yeah. Everything's already been done. It's your $1 million property. Looks fantastic. It's got the porcelain tiles. Yeah. Look, I think those sorts of homes, like I said, the styling of the home can make a big difference. You don't want it to look cluttered. Sometimes we can have a big furniture, and even like I said, my home, we took a lot down before we sold because you always got the frames and you add. So sometimes just paring it back a little bit. You want to try keep things, I think, to sort of please as many people's eyes as possible, so to speak. But as far as marketing for those sorts of things, even like we do lifestyle videos. If an owner's comfortable doing those sorts of things to show off the home and show those little features as well that sometimes in a photo when you've got the whole room, you're not seeing that you've got a $500 tap that so those little things the 40 mil stone.
Would you recommend
pool? Look, I think it's going to depend on the area, whether you have a pool or not. In our market, yes, there are some buyers that will go, look, we want a pool, but not always. So I think it's going to depend on the area. If it's an area where people do want pools, that's why I say, look, speak to your local agent. What are buyers sort of looking for? Pool can definitely enhance a property, add value. I think it's probably going to come down time of year as well. Like a house with a pool might sell better coming into summer than coming into winter.
Yes.
So I think it's, having those conversations and saying, well, what's happening in the market at any given time. But definitely, look, I think in some areas pools would be a big tick.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Contract of sale.
Yes.
Importance of having the up-to-date contract of sale before
Yes.
hitting the market.
Definitely.
Yep.
Definitely.
Why do you say that?
I say that from experience. It was, starting out, it wasn't the biggest thing, but I'd always push to get it done before going to market. What I've found is if, you've got a buyer ready to go, you've shown them the property, they're red hot buyer, need to buy, you got no contract, I can't sell your home. It's as simple as that. With the contract, it's all up to date, it's ready to go. Buyer comes in, can I buy? Yes, you can. Without a contract, it's a verbal agreement. They can walk around the corner, find something else similar, but they need to buy and just go put an offer on that. All of a sudden, you've missed out on that buyer that was ready to go. So contracts for me,
So important.
So important, and
something from a seller's perspective, as long as you got your terms right in there, there's nothing to worry in terms of signing.
No. Well, with the contract, at the end of the day, look, agents will do it differently. What we do is definitely have buyers, if they're putting an offer in, put it on a contract. The terms are all there, so then I can literally sit there with you as an owner, Dilip, and say, well, this is the offer we've got. It's for X amount. This is the settlement date. This is the deposit. If there are any special conditions, like building or pest or anything like that, this is what they're looking for, and we can have that conversation. And if it's something you're happy with, we can literally just sign it off. Done deal, off you go.
Yeah.
Whereas verbal, I find then sometimes, and even I guess going through that contract when you're getting a buyer to sign off, they're understanding what they're signing as well. Sometimes verbal, yes, it can have, you can have that conversation, but a lot of people, first time buyers, or they haven't bought property in 10 years. So, being able to have that conversation over the contract as they're signing it makes it more real. It's, yes, I'm actually putting pen to paper, I'm actually buying something. So when a buyer's signed on a contract, they're a serious buyer. They're not mucking around.
Yeah. From your perspective, Mark, different modes of sale.
Yes.
Sort of supports.
Always a question that comes up. Yes, always a question that comes up.
You're sitting there, like when we're sitting in front of a seller there.
Yes.
How do we select the best mode of sale for them, and what do we suggest, and how do we suggest it?
Look, your main three, obviously you've got your private sale, which is probably one of the more common ones. You've got auction, also one of the more common ones. You've got expression of interest. For me, expression of interest in our area, especially, we don't see as much. It's more, I think, used with, very unique properties that I guess you've potentially got no comparable properties for. Obviously, with legislation in Victoria around, you need to have a quote price. Expression of interest sort of, I guess for me personally, it doesn't really work because you can have a statement of information which shows the price. So expression of interest is a private sale in a way. Your next two then are your auction and private. I think for me, look, I'm big on auctions, and we are as a team. Look, I think especially in any market, one, the reason for that for me is, like I was saying, one, it's sort of a private sale for me with an end date. It's one thing I've always said. And look, not everyone agrees with me. Everyone, I think, sells homes in a way that they're comfortable. Like I said, the reason auction for me, it's a private sale with an end date. So the good thing about that is we're not sitting there for 45, 60, 90 days waiting for a buyer to come in. We're sort of saying to buyers, look, there is a date here we need to sell by. So like your average days on market at the moment, if you look at private versus auction, your auction's about 28, 29 days. Private sales sort of at the moment in the current market, 49
Pricing wise,
days.
that's better.
Pricing wise, same thing. Like I don't know how many times, you sell a home, private sale in the first week, 7 days sold. Are you leaving money on the table? And if I can come in at auction prior to the auction where someone comes in and goes, look, I'm happy to offer X, and you can still sell. There's no, I think a lot of people think of auction as the auction day itself.
Yes.
For me, it's not about the auction day. It's about, it's a private sale, but we're kind of put an end date on it. If someone comes in prior, and we've done it like last month, we sold 3 properties before auction. So buyers come in, go, look, we're happy to offer X, owner's happy, no worries, If for any reason, your property doesn't sell at auction, we sell a private sale anyway. So what we're finding is, one, generally, if there's a possibility to get you more money for your property, it's a transparent process, one. So even for buyers, I'm finding with private sale that if you do have 2-3 offers, it becomes an auction in a private setting anyway, whereas with an auction, it's out in the open. You can see where your competition is. Owners can see where offers are at as well. And it's fair for everyone.
Yeah.
That's the easiest way, I think, for me to put it. I've had instances before with private sale where, you take an offer, you call a buyer back, look, I've got another offer coming in. And it's that whole sort of, your real estate agent car salesman thing where, do you really have an offer? No, I'm not going up. Sell the home, and then, but I might have gone a little bit higher. It's like, well, it's too late now. Even though literally text message, call, we've got an offer, what do you want to do? We're going to sell it to the other buyer. Whereas with auction, they can see it.
Yeah.
If they want to bid, they bid. If they don't, well, it's their call.
They can witness it. They can witness what's going on firsthand.
Exactly. So it's like I said, it's transparent for everyone.
So you've seen places like Perth and
Yes.
Brisbane attracting a lot of interstate buyers, and a lot of interstate interest as well because of the way they've boomed.
Yes.
How do you see Melbourne's future in 2025?
Look, it's starting to feel like we're on the cusp. And the reason I say that is there's definitely more inquiries, especially in our area. I can't say for everyone else, but we're starting, like I was saying before, we're starting to see more interstate buyers coming back that had gone a bit quiet for a little bit. We're starting to see buyers agents, and usually when buyers agents are starting to make phone calls, it means they're pushing people to these areas. But also, look, depending on interest rates, and look, it's been a topic since sort of they started going up, when are they coming down? Having conversations. We had a conversation the other week, are they going to come down before Christmas? Will it be after Christmas? All that sort of stuff. So I think we're on the cusp, and the way we're sort of seeing prices start to move and buyers come back to the market, I think sort of maybe even started next year. It's only going to take one interest rate cut to really sort of flick that switch. And I'm talking to a lot of buyers now who are actually starting to realize that as well and say, look, yes, interest rates are what they are now, but one interest rate cut's going to skyrocket the boom. Am I better off buying now? And then when interest rates go down, my repayments are going down, or will I wait like everyone else?
Pay the higher price.
But also, even if interest rates go down, my actual repayments are going to be higher because I've paid a higher price. So I think there's some smart buyers out there that are, looking to make the move now. So when that does happen, they're ready to go. And, they've obviously got the lower interest rate. They've added capital value into their property already. And, that's, I guess, what investing is all about, yeah.
My last discussion point for you.
Yes.
Risk for a seller in this current market?
Look, good question. I think, I always say with property, it's a matter of timing, and it's very hard to time the market compared to what it was, 20, 30, 40 years ago. Everything's available online these days. So I think it's going to come down to your situation. If it's, right now, if I had a question right now, is it a good time to sell? I think, look, like I said, depending on your situation. So if you're looking to upgrade now, I think now's the time to sell. Because same thing, if property prices increase, if you're sitting on a $500,000 property looking to spend $1 million, 10% on 500,000 is 50, 10% on $1 million is 100,000. So by waiting for your property to go up 10%, and then you go buy that $1 million property, you've actually spent 1.1, so you're worse off 50,000.
Yes.
So I always say, look, it depends on where you're putting that money. You're investing in something else. I've seen people go, look, yes, I'm going to lose, 10, 15,000 on this deal by selling this property, but I'm going to put in something else that's going to make me a lot more. I'm investing in an area, or, I'm developing something where I'm going to make that money back plus a bit more. So I think, look, the market is always going to be what the market is. I think if you're in a position where you need to sell, you want to sell, whether it be for, another investment, whether it be for a lifestyle change, just make the move. Yeah. Because anything could happen in the next week, 2 weeks, where all of a sudden, we're talking this, but something else happens. So I always say, look, it's going to come down to you and your situation, and making the right move for your family, essentially, whether investing or anything. It comes down to what you're looking, for you in your life. Yeah.
It's an unpredictable future, but it's going to be a good one, no doubt, for Melbourne.
I think Melbourne, like I said, in the next 3 to 6 months, I think there's definitely going to be growth from what we're seeing. So definitely, look, good time to get in while you can. And look, I think we're having the same conversation, or we'll have the same conversation every 5 to 10 years. I think 2018 we have similar conversations where people were holding off. Now they're kicking themselves they didn't buy because it took off. Yes. And I'm going to say in 5-10 years time we're going to be having the same conversation, and people are going to be saying, I wish I bought in 2024. So if you look at anyone, there's no time like the present to get into the market. I think if you are holding on for long term, there's definitely money to be made. It's the short term part that if you're looking to buy now to make money in the 6 months, that's the hard part.
Yes.
But
Use your smart thinking is what you're saying, Mark
Exactly.
Mintoff. Thank you so much for joining Monopoly by Grit, ladies and gentlemen. This is
My
Mark
pleasure.
Mintoff from Ray White Melton.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark, for joining us once again.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure having you in the program.
Always, mate. Always.
Thank you.
Thanks for the